Tell me how you came to acquire these very large and heavy pieces.
We took possession of the Farwell building in 2015, 100 years after it was built. The three main lobby glass tile domes were Louis Tiffany. They were in severe disrepair. They were not restorable, so we ended up removing all those domes and rebuilding them completely. The building had been vacant for 35 years or so. Lots of things were destroyed and stolen. So we rebuilt the ceilings completely, and these are the remnants of what was there.
Tiffany had been proud of this commission, even promoting the project when the building first opened. And it's easy to see why. These works weren't simple decorative panels. They were part of sweeping barrel-vaulted ceilings, where classical urns, scrolling foliage, and cascading festoons climbed upward into ribbed arches overhead. Look closely, and the craftsmanship becomes even more impressive. The glass isn't just opaque or softly opalescent. There are flashes of gold iridescence that shimmer when they catch the light. Textured pieces, more commonly associated with Tiffany lamps, add unexpected depth to the mosaic surface. Every element was carefully fabricated in Tiffany's studios before being shipped for installation, an extraordinary achievement for its time.
You have any idea of value?
We have some vague notions without much basis.
Well, at retail, I would say probably 15 to 25 on these two. This one, I would say more like 15,000 to 20,000. This one, I would say 30 to 40,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
30 to 40,000 on that, and I would say 30 to 40,000 on that. And that's the top end price.
Sure.
Were they to be sold.
Excellent. Wow. That's great. That's great news.
I found this beautiful mirror in a yard sale in Hurley, New Mexico. I didn't find any marks on it.
Do you know what it's made of?
No, my guess was maybe copper and maybe some mother pearl.
What did you pay for this?
$2.
The peacock mirror is one of the most iconic decorative objects ever produced by Tiffany Studios around 1905. Framed in richly chased bronze, the design celebrates the peacock, a symbol of beauty and luxury that defined the aesthetic movement of the era. Feathers sweep outward in elegant curves, each one meticulously sculpted to create rhythm and motion across the surface. Along the lower edge, the plumage forms a continuous pattern, wrapping the mirror in fluid symmetry. What elevates this piece beyond decorative bronze is the glass. Tiffany incorporated two distinct types: traditional leaded glass, similar to what appears in lamps and windows, and highly reflective mosaic glass that catches and scatters light with a subtle shimmer. The interplay between metal and glass gives the surface depth, color variation, and a luminous quality that changes depending on the angle. The mirror retains its original beveled plate, softly aged with minor silvering wear, a detail that collectors often appreciate as part of its authenticity. Even the reverse side reveals exceptional workmanship, fully finished and bearing the discreet Tiffany Studios New York stamp.
How long ago did you purchase this?
I bought it 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. That's amazing. Do you go to yard sales all the time?
All the time.
Well, something like this could sell in a shop for $25,000.
My God, I had no idea it would.
Well, it's a really wonderful example. Thank you for bringing it in.
Okay, thank you very much. I had no idea when I bought it. I just loved it.
I brought in what is supposedly a Tiffany table. There's a date on this little silver plaque here that lists 1908, given to one Harris Weinstock, who was the first president of the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. He served 5 years stint as a president, and on his outgoing, they presented him with this table. He hobnobbed with presidents and governors, and he was the founder of the Weinstocks department store chain. His son, Robert Weinstock, what I gathered was the best friend of my grandfather. My parents, all my life, called him Uncle Bob. Somehow, it got passed on to my mother.
Documented on the firm's original 1906 price lists, this model is one of only 2 known bronze side table designs Tiffany introduced that year. Unlike the company's more commonly seen lamps or glasswork, Furniture of this type was produced in extremely limited numbers, making surviving examples exceptionally scarce. The base is sand-cast bronze, finished in a rich, patinated surface that has mellowed beautifully over time. Subtle green undertones have emerged through decades of oxidation, enhancing its depth and character. The oak top, equally aged, carries what collectors call honest wear, surface marks earned through real use rather than neglect. Together, the materials embody Tiffany's philosophy, blending craftsmanship, natural textures, and sculptural form into functional art.
You were thinking of selling this at a yard sale?
Well, the thought crossed my mind at one point. In my life, there have been periods of money and not so much money. And there was a point where I was selling a lot of things in garage sales, but then I thought, no. My mom, when she gave it to me back in the 70s, she said, be careful with this. It's an expensive table. This is Tiffany. She thought it was worth $1,000.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's worth that, at least that, right?
It is worth at least that. At auction, our estimate would be $30,000 to $50,000.
Oh. Glad I didn't sell it at that yard sale. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. It's a piece of history, too, you know. It's the important part.
It's a piece of your history.
Yeah.
Well, I inherited the lamp a year ago when my father passed away. Back in the 50s, my grandmother worked for wealthy people in Atherton and Menlo Park area, and apparently she found this lamp that was down in the basement. It was a dirt basement, crusted with dirt, and she brought it home, cleaned it up, and she gave it to my mother.
Produced around 1903, this Lotus Bell table lamp is among the studio's early and highly desirable designs. The shade is modeled after a lotus leaf just beginning to unfurl, its segmented glass panels curving downward in a soft bell form. A second, flatter lotus variation was also made, but the bell version carries a particularly elegant silhouette that collectors instantly recognize. This example dates to the firm's earlier production years, confirmed by its original markings and numbering system used in the early 1900s. The base features a statuary bronze finish, a surface treatment typical of the period, with fluted detailing that complements the vertical rhythm of the shade. Over time, the bronze has developed a rich, warm patina. While some hardware elements, such as the switch and socket, have been replaced, specialists note that period-correct components can be sourced and restored, which would strengthen its market position. Collectors today are especially drawn to geometric and structured lamp designs, and the Lotus Bell fits perfectly within that demand.
In the condition it's in, I would say $35,000 to $45,000 retail. If you were able to get the switch and the socket back the way it should be, it would be on the higher end, maybe $45,000 to $50,000.
Wow. That's exciting. I love buried treasure.
Me too.
About a year and a half ago, I was driving in the morning. I left to get a cup of coffee and I saw a sign for a garage sale. It was about 7:30 in the morning. The lady was still unpacking some of the boxes. She was taking out this taller piece and I directly was attracted to it, the form and the color. I knew it was something special. And I asked her how much she wants for it and she said $50. And she told me I have 2 other pieces if you're interested. And she pulled out those other 2 pieces. Now I didn't have enough cash with me and she reserved them for me. I went to the bank, grabbed $150, gave her the money and took them with me home.
3 shimmering forms, glowing with oil-slick iridescence, instantly transport you to the height of the Art Nouveau glass movement. The tallest of the trio is an early example from the Tiffany Glass and Decorating Company era, dating between 1898 and 1900. Its faint LCT signature and prefixed numbering system place it firmly in that transitional period just before the firm became widely known as Tiffany Studios. The shape is known as the Egyptian onion, a swelling base that rises like a bulb, with subtle upward suggestions of leaves emerging from below. Inspired by ancient glass forms, this design reflects the studio's fascination with antiquity, reinterpreted through modern technique. The surface shimmers with layered iridescence, shifting between metallic blues, purples, and gold tones depending on the light. Remarkably, the vase remains in pristine condition, free from the mineral staining often seen when water was left sitting inside similar pieces for decades. Accompanying it are two Austrian vases by Lotz, produced roughly between 1905 and 1910. Though frequently mistaken for Tiffany, Lotz developed its own distinctive vocabulary of pulled forms and flowing surface decoration. One features rich blue tones with oil spot iridescence and a pinched body. The other displays dramatic lappet-like detailing that feels almost aquatic in movement.
The decoration is consistent all the way around. This one in a retail venue would sell for between $1,500 and $2,000.
Okay.
This one also has a pinched form with consistent decoration. This one would sell in a retail venue for $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow.
There are a number of great things about this Tiffany piece. First of all, the form, the color, and the fact that it's in remarkably good condition. A lot of times people would put water into them and would leave the water and it would leave calcium deposits. This thing is pristine. It's absolutely perfect. And in a retail venue, this would sell between $6,000 and $8,000.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm shocked.
The total for the three vases in a retail venue would be $10,500 to $15,000.
Wow. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. $150 investment.
It's remarkable. And
Wow.
you're really good at finding good bargains.
Probably I need to start looking more often. Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
My husband purchased this sometime in the 60s in Philadelphia. We've always wondered about it. We love the look of it. The markings are Tiffany.
Often referred to as a turtleback jeweled inkstand, the design features a domed lid inset with iridescent cabochon glass that resembles the shell of a turtle. Each jewel glows with subtle flashes of green, gold, and amber, shifting under changing light. The bronze body beneath carries a soft verdigris patina, a greenish tone developed naturally over time, enhancing its organic presence. The form is more complex than it first appears. Constructed in multiple components, the piece includes its original glass liner inside the inkwell, a detail frequently lost or damaged over decades of use. The survival of that liner significantly strengthens its desirability among collectors. All of the jeweled elements and the lid itself remain original as well, preserving the integrity of the design. Interestingly, while the base is clearly stamped Tiffany Studios, New York, it lacks the model number typically found beneath the mark. That absence suggests an early production date, likely between 1902 and 1905. Before standardized catalog numbering became consistent after 1906. Functional objects like this demonstrate how even everyday desk accessories were elevated into decorative art. The combination of sculpted bronze, luminous glass, and thoughtful detailing reflects the firm's commitment to craftsmanship at every level.
A wonderful object with its original liner. It is worth, in today's marketplace at auction, $3,000 to $5,000.
Oh, wow. Very good. That's good to know.
So I would love to know how you got this.
My grandfather was a superintendent of the grounds at an estate in Gloucester, Massachusetts at Eastern Point. And this apparently came from the estate. I don't know when, but somehow he got it. And it was in his chicken coop for years because where do you put a piece like this? Then it went to my parents' house, where it went to the attic, where it stayed for many years, where it came to my house in the 90s. This was on the sun porch for many years, and then in the summertime, we put it in the barn up in the loft, and then, I mean, it's traveled a lot, and then it went to my dining room not too long ago. It's Tiffany-like in terms of the design, but we know absolutely nothing about it.
33 inches of glowing geometry suspended in mid-air. This inverted hanging shade is monumental in both scale and presence. Dating to roughly 1900 to 1902, the piece represents an exceptionally early example of the studio's architectural lighting, Unlike the more common floral lamps, this design embraces bold geometry. The border features a striking, almost Aztec-inspired pattern that wraps dramatically around the rim, giving the shade a rhythmic, architectural edge rather than a botanical softness. Though unsigned, the glass itself tells the story. The richly textured background, unmistakable in tone and depth, is characteristic of early Tiffany production. In fact, many of the earliest custom commissions were never signed at all. Here, authenticity lies in construction and material rather than a stamped mark. Inside, carefully engineered support fins reinforce the massive dome. True to the studio's meticulous design philosophy, these structural elements follow the lines of the pattern, zigzagging discreetly so they never interrupt the visual flow. That thoughtful internal framework is likely one reason the shade has survived in such extraordinary condition despite its size. Some hardware components have been replaced over time, but key decorative elements, including the chains and upper arms, retain period character consistent with early production. Because of its immense diameter and custom quality construction, this was almost certainly made for a grand interior rather than standard catalog sale.
Something like this in a retail setting could be priced anywhere between $100,000 and $150,000.
Good to know.
So the pole coming down and that semicircle
are
piece,
not-
they're not Tiffany,
Okay.
does not hurt
Okay.
the value.
This was a gift to me from some friends. They bought it, I think, like 10 or 15 years ago at a garage sale, and they've had it in their bathroom ever since, and whenever I visit them, I've always admired it, and they gave it to me as a gift, which was really exciting, and I just love it. I think it's beautiful and delicate.
Created around 1905 by Tiffany Studios, this bronze candlestick captures the essence of natural growth. Instead of a simple cast form with surface decoration, the design is constructed from individually modeled leaves that rise upward from the base. Each leaf feels independent, carefully shaped, and then assembled to create a flowing botanical structure. The effect is far more intricate than a standard molded piece. It's layered, dimensional, and remarkably refined. The stem stretches upward with graceful restraint, leading to a beautifully detailed candle cup. Fine bronze wirework near the top adds an almost lace-like quality, contrasting with the stronger sculptural forms below. Every surface reveals thoughtful craftsmanship. The bronze has developed a rich verdigris patina over time, soft greens blending with deeper tones, enhancing the sense that the piece has grown naturally rather than been manufactured. The pattern itself, known as saxifrage, is particularly rare and appears infrequently on the market. It represents the studio at the height of its Art Nouveau experimentation, where nature served as both inspiration and structure.
At auction, if I were to estimate one candlestick, not a pair, but just a single, I would be looking probably in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. So it was a very generous gift.
Oh my God, I owe him a big dinner in Paris.
A big dinner, yes. Wonderful.
Woohoo!
All right.
Well, those are great friends.
My aunt started buying up these vases from Tiffany's, so I guess she ordered some by the crate load.
A wooden shipping crate stamped Louis C. Tiffany Studios, still packed with straw, is something most collectors only dream of finding. The crate alone is a rarity, boldly marked glass on its sides, a surviving piece of studio ephemera that museums and serious collectors covet. Inside, the contents span different chapters of Tiffany production. One vase represents the studio's later pastel glass of the 1920s, softly colored, elegant, and more accessible than earlier experimental wares.
This piece, which is not as sought after as some of the other art glass, would retail in probably between $2,000 and $3,000.
But the true highlights lie deeper in the crate. A paperweight glass vase, marked as an exhibition example and dated around 1915, reflects the studio's ambitious technical experimentation. paperweight glass required extensive research and development, layering molten glass to achieve painterly depth. Comparable examples reside in major institutions, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
But this piece, in a retail shop, it could be sold for anywhere between $50,000 and $75,000.
No way! Oh my gosh, I was thinking maybe 8 to 10, I was hoping. Wow.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Wow, I really didn't know what the market had done, you know, if it had gone sideways or up or down, but wow.
Then comes the masterpiece, a lava vase. Designed to resemble molten rock frozen mid-flow, its rugged surface and dramatic protrusions push glassmaking into sculptural territory. Extremely difficult to produce without cracking, flawless examples are exceptionally scarce. Similar works appeared in the 1906 Paris Salon and reside today in European museum collections.
An example like this in a retail shop could sell between $100,000 and $150,000.
Where's my brother? Wow, that's unbelievable. I had no idea.
The crate in a retail setting, this is something for Tiffany geeks everywhere, collectors, museums. They would actually be very excited about this, and it would be worth between $5,000 and $10,000.
Holy cow.
I just can't believe that your aunt bought all of this in the late 20s and the early 30s. It's pretty remarkable.
I was the first person at a yard sale. It was $25, and I didn't even argue. I just bought it. And the woman said it was inexpensive because she didn't have the shade for it. And I thought it was from the 30s because of the cord. And I thought maybe the glass was like a fluorine glass, which I know Tiffany. So I was hoping it was a Tiffany or a Handel, but I couldn't find any marks on it.
At first glance, it looks incomplete, just a base without its shade. But this early arrowhead mosaic lamp base is anything but ordinary. Dating to around 1900, the design combines patinated bronze with vibrant glass mosaic work, arranged in sharp, repeating geometric forms. The arrowhead motif climbs the stem in rhythmic precision, giving the piece a bold architectural presence. Unlike many later electric models, this base was originally conceived as an oil lamp, a reminder of how the studio adapted as lighting technology evolved at the turn of the century. Time has altered it. The lower section was modified decades ago, and the wiring was added in a less than ideal manner, including drilling that wouldn't have been part of the original construction. Even so, the core structure, the bronze body and its luminous mosaic surface, remains intact and authentic. The absence of a shade might seem like a major drawback. In most cases, missing components significantly reduce value. Yet this base is so rare and so visually powerful that it stands confidently on its own. Early mosaic examples from this period are especially scarce, and collectors prize them for their craftsmanship and historical importance.
I would put a value of this at $50,000.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God! You're kidding! Oh my God!
I'm definitely not kidding.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
You're a good shopper.
Oh my God!
I brought my great-grandfather's Tiffany desk set that we recently found in an attic. But as far as how he acquired them, we're not too sure. I know that I have a letter holder, a letter opener, and a paperclip. They've been boxed away for the past 30 years, and no one's seen them until just recently.
Before smartphones and inboxes, a well-appointed desk made a statement. And few statements were more refined than a coordinated bronze desk set from Tiffany Studios. This grouping includes 3 distinct pieces: a paper knife, a letter clip, and a later letter holder. The first 2 belong to the celebrated bookmark pattern introduced in 1906. Decorated with stylized printer's marks inspired by early European typography, the design blends intellectual charm with elegant metalwork. Both pieces are crafted in bronze and finished with a rich gilded surface, enhanced by cold-painted enamel details that add subtle color and dimension. Originally catalogued under slightly different names, paper knife, and letter clip, they reflect the studio's precise terminology and attention to presentation. The third piece, a letter holder, represents a later chapter. Marked under the name Louis C. Tiffany Furnaces, Incorporated, it dates to the early 1920s and reveals a noticeable stylistic shift. While earlier works leaned heavily into Art Nouveau's flowing lines, this example hints at emerging Art Deco influences, cleaner geometry, bolder symmetry, and a more streamlined presence. It was produced in multiple color variations and finished with a 24-karat gold surface, underscoring its luxury appeal.
So in the retail shop today, we'll start with the paper knife. That would sell for between $200 and $300. And then the letter clip would sell for between $700 and $900. And then this is actually the most desirable piece, and this would sell anywhere from maybe $2,000 to $2,500.
Oh, wonderful.
This lamp was bought new by my grandfather's uncle. I would guess sometime before World War I. He liked the lamps with the tulips, but he wanted one with more tulips than the regular tulip shades that they had. So he special ordered a shade with more tulips than the regular tulip lampshade. So he bought this lamp brand new from the Tiffany counter at Marshall Field in Chicago. The price was $125 for the base, $250 for the standard shade, plus $125 for the special work on the shade, for a total of $500 for the lamp when he bought it new.
Around 1915, this spectacular tulip lamp was created as a special commission, expanding on the standard design by dramatically increasing the number of blossoms cascading across the shade. Instead of leaving space near the lower edge for patches of soil, the composition pulls the tulips downward, filling the surface with richer color and denser floral movement. The result feels more immersive, almost like standing inside a garden at full bloom. The glass itself is extraordinary. Deep crimson petals glow with phosphate stringing, creating subtle linear textures within the color. Ripple and drapery glass add dimension and movement, giving the flowers a sculptural presence even before the lamp is illuminated. By the 1920s, this level of glass experimentation had become far less common, which helps firmly date the piece to the mid-1910s. Equally important, the shade and base remain original to one another, something collectors always hope to see. The bronze surfaces carry what dealers affectionately call righteous patina, a perfectly aged finish that enhances authenticity rather than diminishing it.
In terms of value, at auction, an estimate for this would be between $150,000 and $200,000.
Okay.
Now, in a retail shop, and for insurance purposes, I would put a value of $375,000 on it.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing it in.
Thank you.
My grandfather worked for Tiffany's back in the 30s, and one Christmas, it was a Christmas bonus that he received.
And what did your grandfather do at Tiffany's?
He was a salesman for the stained glass. That's what he sold for churches and sacred items and things like that.
By 1935, the golden era of Tiffany Studios was fading, but creativity hadn't disappeared. This Spanish pattern desk set represents one of the final chapters in the firm's long decorative legacy. Unlike the flowing Art Nouveau designs most people associate with Tiffany, this pattern leans into Renaissance-inspired imagery. Stylized figures drawn from Spanish history, dramatic griffins, and bold architectural detailing replace delicate florals. The aesthetic feels heavier, more narrative, almost theatrical, a deliberate shift to appeal to changing tastes of the 1930s. The set itself is impressively complete. It includes blotter ends, a rocker blotter, memo pads, a perpetual calendar, pen tray, letter rack, inkwell, magnifying glass, letter opener, and, most notably, a rare surviving pair of matching bookends. Bookends were often separated from their original groupings over time, so retaining them significantly enhances desirability. Crafted in bronze with a gilded finish, the pieces were designed to function together as a unified display. At its peak, the studio offered around 15 different desk set patterns, some containing dozens of components. The Spanish pattern, however, remains among the rarer late examples. Accompanying documentation from the period confirms its production date during the studio's final operational years, a time when financial strain was mounting and inventory often served as compensation.
In a good shop, this set complete would sell for about $15,000.
Wow, that's great.
What I believe to be is a Tiffany inkwell that belonged to my aunt, my favorite aunt. I can say that now because they're all gone. And I don't know much about it other than it does say Tiffany on the bottom, and it's been a favorite piece of mine she had since I was a child. And when she passed away, I asked for it and let me have it.
Few desk accessories capture early Tiffany experimentation quite like a mosaic inkwell from around 1900. Unlike the more commonly seen bronze desk pieces, this example is wrapped in hand-set glass tesserae, tiny tiles produced in the firm's own workshops. Each mosaic surface was assembled individually, which means no two are ever exactly alike. Subtle gradations of color move from brighter tones near the rim to deeper, richer shades toward the base, creating a quiet sense of depth and movement. The bronze framework holds both an inner bronze liner and its original glass insert, a survival detail collectors always hope to see. Even traces of old ink remain inside, a reminder that this was once a working object, not just a display piece. Stamped on the underside is the Tiffany Studios New York mark, alongside the earlier Tiffany glass and decorating company monogram. That dual marking firmly anchors the inkwell to the studio's turn-of-the-century period, when mosaic experimentation was at its height and production numbers were limited. Condition plays a role here. A couple of missing tiles and a slightly compressed lid affect value, and professional conservation would require careful matching of the original glass. Some collectors prefer untouched surfaces, while others seek meticulous restoration.
In its present condition, whether it's in a retail venue or in an auction venue, it's worth $15,000.
Whoa. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
My brother received a phone call from a lawyer, and the lawyer said our half-sister Phyllis had passed and left her estate to my brother, my sister, and myself. She lived in Sedona, Arizona. So I was the one that went to Arizona and went to the house, and then I went into the bedroom, and on her side table was this lamp. So I knew immediately that it was pretty special.
Few designs capture the romance of Tiffany lighting like the poppy lamp. Bold blossoms spill across the surface in a cascade of red and coral glass, their petals outlined in delicate leading that gives each flower movement and depth. This example is the 20-inch cone variation, first introduced in the 1906 catalog. The poppy motif quickly became one of the studio's most sought-after floral patterns, offered in multiple sizes to suit different interiors. What makes this lamp especially compelling is the pairing of shade and base. While clients originally selected components separately, the gilded base seen here did not appear in catalogs until 1910, helping date this complete configuration to the early 1910s. The bronze base is finished in a rich gilded surface, created using 24-karat gold. That luxurious treatment significantly increased the original retail price, pushing the lamp's cost to around $200 at the time, a substantial investment in the early 20th century. Inside the shade, the Tiffany Studios NY signature and corresponding model number follow the later marking style adopted after 1910, aligning perfectly with the base's production window. Aside from replaced sockets, common for functional lamps over a century old, the components remain original to one another.
All the parts are original with the exception of the sockets. And back then, it was more important that the lamp worked. But collectors today want the original parts. So in today's market, I would put an auction estimate of $70,000 to $90,000 on this lamp.
Very nice.
And it's really a really fine example.
My great-great-grandmother lived in Mineral Point, Wisconsin in the late 1800s. They moved to Chicago, and they were a pretty well-to-do family. Then they lost everything they had in the Great Depression.
They didn't lose this.
Nope.
And you don't know at all how the damage occurred over all those years.
I don't.
Elegant and intimate in scale, the Tiffany chamber stick blends utility with refined artistry. Created around 1905, this bronze example carries the model number 5640 and reflects the studio's talent for transforming even the simplest lighting form into decorative sculpture. The base is cast in bronze with a naturally aged patina that has mellowed beautifully over time. Resting above are delicate shades of opalescent glass, softly diffusing light with subtle variations in tone. The blown glass bobèches, the circular drip plates beneath the shades, add another layer of craftsmanship, showcasing the studio's signature glassmaking expertise. Turn the piece over, and the Tiffany Studio's mark confirms its authenticity, anchoring it firmly in the early 20th century. Chamber sticks like this were designed for bedside or intimate interior use, smaller than grand table lamps, yet no less carefully detailed. Condition, however, plays a major role in valuation. One of the glass shades remains intact, while the other shows chipping. More significantly, a damaged bobèche presents a challenge, as replacing or restoring these specialized blown components is notoriously difficult. Collectors weigh originality against restoration carefully, knowing that even small losses can dramatically affect market appeal.
In the condition that this is in a fine retail establishment, you would find this in a range of $3,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
That's pretty good for all that damage.
Yes, it is.
If it's possible to find a bobèche, now your piece would be worth $12,000.
Back around the turn of the century, Marshall Fields put in a men's grill restaurant. And Mrs. Field was in charge of decorating it, and she contracted with Tiffany to put in a ceiling. Then about 1948, Fields remodeled the restaurant. Well, a friend of my in-laws was a carpenter on this job, and he asked if he could take some of the glass. Then 1968, he asked us if we wanted this glass. But he said, with the condition that we do not destroy it, and he gave us the history. Then about 3 years ago, I was going through Fields, and they had a display including that picture of the old men's grill.
Fragments of a lost ceiling and a piece of Chicago history survive in these stained glass panels created around 1907. What makes these panels fascinating is their stylistic shift. Rather than the flowing, heavily layered look associated with earlier Tiffany windows, this glass leans toward the Prairie School aesthetic emerging in Chicago at the time. Cleaner geometry, stronger structure, and architectural rhythm reflect the city's evolving design language following the rebuilding era after the Great Fire of 1871. The craftsmanship, however, remains unmistakable. Richly textured glass catches and filters light with subtle tonal variation. Even with minor cracks from age and removal, the panels retain impressive visual impact. Stained glass of this scale was never meant to be portable. Survival alone is extraordinary. Because these pieces carry both artistic and historical significance, valuation is complex. They are not simply decorative panels. They are architectural remnants tied to a landmark department store and a defining era in Midwestern design.
I would estimate the total value of this collection at $35,000 to $45,000.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. It's just wonderful to see.
Oh,
and I
thank you
really
very
appreciate
much.
it. I really wanted to see some great stained glass in Chicago, and you brought it.
My mother found this in the late 60s. There was a little neighborhood newspaper flyer, and she read that there was a glass lamp for sale. And my mother saw it, knew what it was.
And the woman, she also knew what it was. It had belonged to her grandfather. And she had moved into a very small studio apartment, and it was just too large. And my mother asked her, well, what would you like for it? And
She said 125.
right,
125, so my mother
went to the bank real quick.
purchased it and has had it ever since.
Romantic, radiant, and unmistakably dramatic. The rose helmet lamp is Tiffany at its most theatrical. Dating to around 1905, the shade takes its name from its distinctive helmet silhouette, curving outward and downward in a protective arc. Across its surface bloom richly colored roses, layered in vibrant reds and pinks against a luminous ground. The leading is finished in gold, enhancing the warmth of the glass and giving the entire shade a glowing, almost regal presence when illuminated. Supporting it is the rare and highly sculptural arc and leaf base. Flowing Art Nouveau lines rise from the bottom, where stylized leaves wrap around the perimeter before climbing upward in rhythmic repetition. The etched doré finish, a soft, matte gold surface, complements the golden leading of the shade, suggesting the two components have remained together since their original pairing. That harmony between base and shade is something collectors always hope to see. Notably, this particular base is exceptionally scarce. It appears far less frequently on the market than many other standard forms, making it nearly as significant as the celebrated rose shade itself. When new, lamps of this caliber were luxury purchases, often costing around $200, a considerable sum in the early 20th century.
The woman who was selling it, because she did know it was a Tiffany, she had taken it into two dealers in her area.
Right.
And the one dealer looked at it and she said, it's not a Tiffany, it's the wrong finish on the base.
Okay.
And so she was turned around by two different dealers.
Okay, well, that's okay. This is called the etched doré finish. It's as right as rain. There's just, everything is beautiful about this lamp. So now let me just give you the good news. This lamp is worth between $80,000 and $125,000. Mom had a good eye. She's... Congratulations. Oh. Oh, I have to give you guys a hug. Isn't it great to get news? Oh, you're so cute. That's great.
Wow. This desk set belonged to my great uncle Jet, and he was my father's uncle. And I inherited it through my parents. My mother actually gave it to me while she was still alive.
And how did Jet get it?
Jet, I never knew Jet. He died before I was born. All I've been told about Jet was he was kind of a ladies' man, and he never married, and he had a lot of girlfriends, and they gave him expensive gifts. And this set was a gift to him from one of his girlfriends.
Right, and how do we know it was a gift?
It's engraved on the bottom of the clock to Jet from Imogene. You have the date there. It's December 25th, 1924.
Right. And does anybody know who Imogene was?
I have no idea who Imogene was, but I think it's a perfect name for the 1920s.
This bookmark pattern ensemble from Tiffany Studios reflects the studio's refined approach to executive accessories during the 1920s. The pattern is defined by small printer's marks, historic emblems once used by early publishers, repeated as decorative motifs across each bronze surface. It's an intellectual design, subtle yet distinctive. The grouping here includes blotter ends, a date pad, bookends, a cedar-lined cigarette box, and most importantly, the matching clock. The clock is among the rarer components within the bookmark line, and even more desirable when accompanied by its original winding key, a small detail that often vanishes over time. Finished in gilt doré, the bronze surfaces glow warmly under light. What sets this particular set apart, however, is the cold-painted decoration. Unlike traditional patinas fused into the metal, this detailing was applied with oil-based paint, making it more delicate and far more vulnerable to wear. The survival of so much original painted surface is exceptional and dramatically enhances its appeal. Tiffany produced roughly 20 desk set patterns, with buyers selecting as many pieces as suited their needs. Complete or near-complete groupings, especially with rare components like the clock and bookends intact, command strong interest.
This set in a retail setting would bring about $9,500.
That's really nice. I love the set. I try to just dust it with a cloth. I have no idea what to do with it, but to use it.
Oh, so you do actually
use it. I
Uh-huh.
do use it.
Well, I was in Manhattan, in New York, visiting some friends, and I'd been going to different antique stores. I happened in Lillian Nassau's, saw this nice mosaic sitting on the floor with a no for sale sign on it. So I asked her if she would be willing to sell it, and she didn't sound like she would be interested in selling it. So I looked around a while and then went on somewhere else and came back 2 days later and asked her again. So after I think it was the fourth time,
Wow.
she had decided that she'd sell it. And so I bought it.
What year was that?
That was in 1980. It was in January. She had come out of the store and I'd almost got to the stoplight at the end of the block, and she kept running down there. Oh, you forgot your papers, you forgot your papers. I stopped and turned around. I says, oh my gosh. And then everybody from the store was behind her saying, oh, Lillian, you shouldn't be out here. You got to get it back to the store. And so I went back with her, and she'd give me the paper that I'd forgotten.
A luminous frog poised beneath blazing poppies. This mosaic panel is one of the rare standalone compositions produced by Tiffany Studios around 1905. Most Tiffany mosaics were architectural, permanently installed in churches, banks, or grand public interiors. Independent panels like this were far less common, making surviving examples exceptionally desirable. Framed in bronze, the composition feels complete and intentional rather than a fragment removed from a wall. The subject matter is strikingly secular. A shimmering iridescent frog, constructed from countless tiny tesserae, anchors the scene. Each piece of glass is meticulously placed, creating lifelike dimension and texture. The technique echoes mosaic work used in major commissions, including installations at Marshall Fields, where similarly detailed animal motifs appeared. Above, two dramatic poppies bloom in fiery red-orange glass. Their centers are built from intricate clusters of small elements, not merely a single contrasting piece. Subtle acid-etched outlines sharpen the forms, allowing petals and leaves to stand out with clarity. The use of opalescent and translucent glass, rather than the opaque tesserae common in earlier European mosaics, introduces depth, movement, and remarkable color variation. Unsigned yet unmistakable in craftsmanship, the panel reflects the studio's mastery of glass as painterly medium.
In today's market, this could sell in a retail venue for between $100,000 and $150,000.
Flabbergasted. Unbelievable. Speechless. Whew. Wow. Incredible. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
And to see something like this made my heart go pitter-patter.
Yeah, me too.
They belong to a good friend of mine who passed away 3 years ago in 2005, and he left them to me.
And what did he tell you about them?
He told me that they were Tiffany and that the floor lamp was originally in New York, I think in the 40s, and then he moved to Chicago in the 50s and the 60s, and then he moved to Los Angeles until 1988, and then he moved to Palm Springs. That one he bought in Los Angeles.
Okay. And do you know when?
I would say probably 73.
1973.
74, maybe.
Two lamps, two towering examples of early geometric design, each quietly powerful in its own way. The larger table lamp features the woodbine pattern, where structured geometric panels form the backdrop for delicate vine-like decoration drifting across the surface. That balance between order and ornament defines many early 1900s designs. The glass here is notably transparent, a hallmark of early production when illumination, whether electric or fuel, required maximum light transmission. Beside it stands a senior floor lamp in the swirling leaf, sometimes called lemon leaf, pattern. Flowing organic motifs curl across a geometric ground, giving the shade a sense of motion without overwhelming symmetry. The shade bears an early style signature with a dash following the model number, a marking scholars now associate with earlier examples rather than special commissions. Both lamps retain important original elements, including their heat caps and finials, components frequently lost over time and increasingly valued by collectors. The bronze bases carry rich, consistent finishes that pair harmoniously with their shades. While the sockets have been replaced for functionality, the structural integrity and glass quality remain exceptional. Dating to around 1905, these pieces reflect a period when Tiffany lighting was evolving from purely floral exuberance toward more structured architectural forms.
A lamp like this, I would recommend putting an insurance value of $85,000. And on this one, I would put an insurance value of $45,000.
Okay.
They're both very nice examples, and I'm delighted to see them.
Great.
These are candlesticks in a bowl that had been in my grandmother's dining room forever. She worked for a family in Westchester County for many years in Cross River, New York. When they moved west, they left a lot of valuables, so they became part of our family. So that was a nice way for us to get things that I don't think our family could have afforded otherwise.
And do you have an idea maybe when exactly that was?
The gentleman became ill and they moved out west in the early 1920s. So it at least predates that, is my assumption, but they became part of our family around that time.
The pair of candlesticks were produced by Tiffany Studios around 1900 to 1905. Signed on their bases, they feature richly gilded iridescent glass that shifts between warm amber and metallic gold depending on the light. This larger size model was designed strictly as candlesticks, not converted into candle lamps, and their elegant flared forms reflect the studio's fascination with luminous surface over heavy ornament. Beside them sits a coordinating bowl by Loetz, crafted in the Astria pattern. Though Austrian in origin, Loetz glass often harmonizes visually with Tiffany pieces due to similar iridescent techniques and flowing Art Nouveau forms. The bowl's glowing finish and subtle contouring make it an easy companion to the candlesticks, even though they were created by different makers. By the 1920s, tastes were shifting. Ornate, iridescent glass was falling out of fashion, and many such pieces quietly passed from grand homes into new hands. Today, however, collectors recognize the craftsmanship and artistry behind these luminous surfaces.
And I would put a value on these, a retail value. The candlesticks, because they're the larger size, $800 to $1,000.
Okay.
And actually, the piece of Loetz, about $1,000 to $1,500.
Oh, how exciting! I had no idea.
My great-great-uncle, Henry Grant Morris, was an architect. He designed the New York Engineers Building in New York City. When the work was done, this was one of the things that was handed out to the people who came to the big banquet.
Cast in bronze and glowing with a soft golden patina, this 1907 Engineers Club goblet is more than a banquet souvenir. It's a piece of New York architectural history. Commissioned for the dedication dinner of the Engineers Club on West 41st Street, the goblet is inscribed with the date December 9, 1907. The club itself was funded with $1.5 million from industrialist Andrew Carnegie, whose Scottish heritage is subtly honored in the design. The vessel is adorned with finely detailed thistle motifs, Scotland's national emblem, intertwined with flowing foliage around the base. Stamped Tiffany and Company, rather than Tiffany Studios, the goblet reflects a unique moment when the decorative arts workshop and the retail firm intersected. While similar metalwork was often produced at the Corona, Queen's Foundry associated with Tiffany Studios, this example likely served a dual purpose: commemorative gift and promotional object for the parent company. Some scholars even attribute the design to Louis Tiffany himself during his presidency of the firm. The finish remains beautifully intact, with no over-polishing to diminish its warm bronze surface. Its weight and tactile quality make it feel substantial, exactly the kind of object meant to be handled and admired.
In terms of value, in a gallery setting, this piece would bring between $2,000 and $3,000.
Well, thank you very much. It's something we treasure, and it's so tactile. When you put it out, people just have to touch it because it's just, you want to hold it.
My grandfather worked for Tiffany's in Corona. These pieces were seconds and would not be sold, and he would bring them home to my grandmother, who really did not like them at all. And these were the ones that she had kept, and the other ones she had buried in the backyard.
Did your grandfather ever talk about what it was like to work there?
He said that it was very, very hard, the hours were very long, and that it was very tedious.
Not every Tiffany piece that left the Corona Glassworks was destined for a showroom. Some were set aside, imperfect, experimental, or simply unsold, yet they still carry the magic of Favrile glass. This small grouping of vessels spans several production periods. 4 of the 5 examples are unsigned, something frequently seen in pieces that remained at the factory or were informally acquired by workers. Their shimmering gold iridescence reflects the signature metallic surface that made Favrile glass revolutionary at the turn of the century. The standout is the earliest example, bearing a registration number with a C prefix, dating it to 1895 to 1896. That makes it one of the firm's formative Favrile creations. Its faceted, almost honeycomb-like surface and shifting tones, from deep root beer amber to glowing gold, give it a sculptural presence. Interior corrosion likely caused it to be classified as a second, though intriguingly, it was still signed. The remaining pieces range from about 1900 through the 1920s, including a transparent form sometimes thought to be a lipstick holder, or perhaps even a diminutive cordial glass. Each shows the studio's experimentation with shape and surface, even in smaller wares.
In terms of value, this one in a retail venue would sell for about $500. This one in a retail venue would sell for about $250. This is kind of a funny little piece. Okay. This one probably would be worth in the neighborhood of about $75 to $100. This piece here would be about $500 or $600 in a retail venue. And this piece, even though it's the most interesting of all, the problem is it has the corrosion. It's interesting, but probably only worth about $300 or $400.
Oh, that's fine.
So, if this were in perfect condition, yes, this could have been maybe $1,000 to $1,500.
Oh my, oh my.
I brought you a Tiffany inkwell. It was part of my mom's collection. My mom was an avid antiquer and would drag my sister and myself to antique shops, secondhand shops, and auctions. And I think maybe on one of those forays, she picked this up. I don't know much about it. I know it has some damage on top, and otherwise, I'm just all yours.
Okay.
At first glance, it's a desk accessory. Look closer. It's a miniature mosaic masterpiece. Created around 1905, this mosaic inkwell by Tiffany Studios stands apart from the more commonly produced desk set pieces. Rather than being one component in a large coordinated grouping, this example feels like a self-contained work of art. The surface is clad in hand-cut Favrile glass tiles, each individually iridized and set to create a shimmering mosaic field. The colors shift subtly under light, moving from warm golds to deeper amber tones. Rising from this luminous ground is a sculptural bronze design of poppy leaves, fluid, organic, and unmistakably Art Nouveau. At the center, molded and pressed glass forms a stylized poppy motif, anchoring the composition. Stamped Tiffany Studios, New York, with a corresponding catalog number, the piece firmly dates to the early 20th century. Scholarship from exhibitions such as the 2007 show at the New York Historical Society has shed light on the likely involvement of Clara Driscoll and the Tiffany girls in designing objects like this, highlighting the talented women behind many of the studio's iconic creations. Condition affects value. The liner is missing, and there is some damage to the lid.
Do you know what your mother might have paid for this?
She didn't have much money in those days. I think she started collecting in the 40s, the 50s. She probably paid under $50.
In the condition it's in a retail shop, it could sell for between $25,000 and $30,000.
Oh.
Now, you could go out and find the liner. They can be priced anywhere from $2,000, $3,000, and they're fairly rare, but it can be done. And if you were to replace the liner, and it would be perfectly fine as long as it's original Tiffany, the inkwell would be worth as much as $50,000 in a retail shop.
Goodness.
This particular piece has been in our family for as long as I can remember. When I was a little girl, this lamp lived in my grandmother's home. We used to love playing with it. When it was lit, we would call it the brain lamp.
The brain lamp?
The brain lamp, yes, yes.
I understand why.
Yes. We also used to do a lot of dressing up as kids, and we would turn it so that we could also use it as a spotlight for our performances. So it's a very heartfelt piece for our family.
Dating to around 1910, the shade is composed of iridescent turtleback tiles, thick, rounded glass elements that resemble the segmented surface of a turtle's shell. Unlike the heavier turtleback panels seen in windows or large installations, these tiles are thinner and more delicately set, allowing light to glow warmly through the textured surface. The effect is dramatic when illuminated, explaining why it once doubled as a theatrical spotlight in family performances. The shade is typically unsigned, which is common for this form. Authentication instead comes from construction, glass quality, and the bronze base beneath it. The patinated bronze vase form base rests on sculpted lily pad feet and bears the Tiffany Studios mark on the underside, firmly dating the lamp to the early 20th century. One alteration affects originality. The hanging chain has been replaced. While reversible through a specialist restoration using period-correct components, the modification slightly impacts value. Fortunately, such adjustments are relatively straightforward and do not diminish the lamp's rarity. Examples of this model are exceptionally scarce, making market comparisons difficult. Its combination of sculptural bronze and richly iridescent turtleback glass places it among the more unusual floor lamps from the studio's output.
And I would say today, in a retail market, you might find this piece at $30,000 to $40,000.
Oh my gosh! Wow! Wow! Oh my gosh. Kathy, thank you so much. I can't believe it. Wow.
It was a gift to me and my husband from my mother-in-law. She worked for a very prominent family, and they lived in Connecticut, and it was given to her in the 40s. I believe it was made by Tiffany.
Unlike the more commonly encountered blotter ends or letter racks, this example is a hinged box, a slightly more substantial component within the ensemble. Desk sets from the studio could include a dozen or more matching pieces, all designed to create a unified and luxurious writing table. What immediately draws the eye is the decoration. The bronze surface is finished in a warm, gilded tone, and set into the lid are glass jewels designed to imitate cabochon-cut sapphires and emeralds. These colored stones add a regal quality, elevating the box from simple utility to ornament. The interplay between metal and glass echoes the studio's broader aesthetic philosophy, blending craftsmanship with rich visual texture. Though smaller in scale compared to lamps or major bronze works, objects like this were designed for affluent interiors, where even everyday desk accessories reflected status and taste.
At auction, it would bring about $1,000 to $1,500.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
This is a Tiffany's desk set. My mother bought it at a garage sale about 35 years ago, and really just wanted to bring it and see what you thought about it.
And tell me, back then when your mother purchased this, do you remember what she paid for it?
No, she didn't say, but I would doubt it was over $10.
Produced around 1910, the set belongs to the rare American Indian pattern, a motif that stepped away from flowing florals and embraced strong symbolism instead. Stylized figures, geometric borders, and tribal-inspired ornament give the pieces a powerful presence, perfectly suited to an early 20th century office or study. The grouping shown here includes a match holder, an inkwell, blotter ends, and a calendar holder. While Tiffany desk sets were modular, allowing buyers to assemble anything from a few pieces to expansive arrangements, even partial sets like this are highly collectible today. Each component is cast in bronze and finished with a rich gilt surface that adds warmth and depth without overpowering the sculptural details. Markings reading Tiffany Studios place production firmly between 1902 and 1919, a period when the studio was producing a wide range of desk accessories to meet growing demand. These objects were meant to be functional, but they were never ordinary. Even practical items like a match holder or calendar frame were treated as miniature works of decorative art. Among the pieces, the calendar holder stands out. Many collectors now repurpose it as a picture frame, and its versatility has helped push its value higher than several other components in the set.
Sure. So starting over here with the match holder, that would retail around $150.
Right.
Then with the inkwell here, I think you're looking more at a price around $450, even $500.
Right.
Blotter ends about the same, $450. And the calendar holder closest to you, many people today are using as a picture frame. And you can see that selling for anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. So if you look at that aggregately, I would give you an insurance estimate of $2,000 to $2,500.
Wow, that's great. Surprised.
It's a light fixture that hangs in our sunroom at our house.
Did this come with your house?
Yeah, it was in the house when we bought it 10 years ago.
Draped like medieval armor, yet glowing with soft light, this chainmail fixture is one of the most atmospheric lighting designs produced by Tiffany Studios around 1905. Instead of a solid shade, the surface is composed of hundreds of small glass panels, each set within a metal frame and linked together with sturdy rings. The result is a flexible, cascading form that hangs in graceful folds, almost like fabric made of glass. When illuminated, the overlapping pieces create a layered shimmer that feels both intimate and exotic. The pattern reflects the studio's fascination with Moorish and Middle Eastern design influences, which inspired several of its early 20th century fixtures. The interplay of metal structure and luminous glass gives the piece an architectural presence while still feeling delicate and ornamental. What makes this example especially desirable is its remarkable state of preservation. The original cap, double-wire construction, suspension chain, and ceiling hook remain intact, details that collectors highly prize. In many cases, these components were replaced over time, so complete originality significantly strengthens market appeal. Chainmail fixtures were never mass-produced in large numbers, and intact examples are increasingly scarce on the market.
If this were in a retail gallery today, it would sell probably for between $20,000 and $25,000.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's wonderful.
It was my grandmother's. She lived in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Probably about 20 years ago when she died, we all did a round robin, and I was the first to choose, and this was my first item.
Dating to around 1906, this example pairs a blown Favril glass shade with a bronze harp-style desk base. Favril glass, known for its luminous metallic surface, was produced in a wide spectrum of colors. Gold and green appear frequently. Blue, however, sits near the top of the desirability scale. Its rarity in the marketplace has steadily pushed values upward over the years. The shade bears the L.C. Tiffany Favril signature along the fitter rim, confirming early production from the Corona, Queens studios. While the glass body remains in excellent overall condition, some wear is visible around the rim, a result of decades of careful but repeated removal. Fortunately, that edge is hidden when the lamp is assembled. The bronze base retains its elegant form, though a few small feet are missing and the switch has been replaced. These issues are correctable and relatively common in lamps that were actively used for generations. Importantly, the shade, which carries the majority of the lamp's value, remains intact and visually striking.
Something like this in the market today, in the condition it's in, for retail would sell between $15,000 and $20,000.
Cool.
If it didn't have the chewing around the edge,
Right.
it could be as much as $25,000, maybe even $30,000. But also, if you get these other parts fixed, it will definitely be retail of at least $20,000.
Oh, okay.
Now, if this were a green shade, maximum maybe $8,000 to $12,000. And the value of this lamp is, the majority of it is in this shade.
Right.
Once you take this shade off this base is worth about $1,500.
Really?
It was passed down. My grandmother gave it to me last year after my grandfather had passed away. It sat on his desk for as long as I can remember.
Do you remember he got it and did you ever talk to him about it? Or?
No, I wasn't old enough to really probably understand it at the time. The only thing I remember is the color of it, that green. I remember it since I could walk and we visited their house.
That deep emerald glow is what stops you first. Produced between 1900 and 1910, this striking inkwell is a rare, blown-out glass example from Tiffany Studios. Unlike the more common bronze desk set pieces, this design features an open lattice framework through which molten glass was blown outward, creating rounded protrusions that push dramatically beyond the metal structure. The result is sculptural, dimensional, and far more visually dynamic than a standard inkwell. Stamped Tiffany Studios, New York on the underside, the piece belongs to the era when elaborate desk accessories were a mark of status in early 20th century offices. Full desk sets could include letter racks, blotters, pen trays, and even lamps. But blown-out glass models like this were far less frequently encountered. The vivid green glass remains in excellent condition overall. Minor surface speckling, including tiny white paint flecks, does not significantly impact value. The interior liner is a later replacement, which is common, as original liners were often damaged or lost over decades of use. What truly elevates this example is the richness of its color. While versions were also produced in coral red tones, the saturated emerald variation carries a strong presence and collector appeal.
In a retail setting, at a gallery or a shop specializing in Tiffany works, this would be about $5,000.
Really? Wow. Wow, that's I had no idea.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Some Tiffany lamps are beautiful. Others are legendary. This green turtleback hanging shade falls firmly into the second category.
Well, I more or less inherited it when my grandfather passed away in 1964. It was purchased directly from Tiffany. Actually, my grandfather purchased 4 lamps on February 11th, 1915.
Which lamp is this
The
lamp?
one valued at $90 at the time. He paid the cost.
90, and so that was the dining room lamp.
That was the dining room lamp.
I also noticed that you brought a photograph of it hanging in the dining room. What year would you say this was?
That is 1967, and that was Christmas Day, and that's my mother, my father, and a cousin of mine.
Oh, that's great.
Original ownership, original patina, and remarkably, original hardware. That last detail alone sets it apart. The vast majority of early hanging shades were separated from their ceiling fittings over time, making complete surviving examples exceptionally scarce. The shade itself is constructed from thick, rounded turtle-back glass tiles, richly textured segments that resemble the domed surface of a turtle's shell. Produced in green, red, and yellow variations, the green examples are especially admired for their depth and glow. When illuminated, each tile radiates a jewel-like intensity, creating a dramatic canopy of light. Condition is extraordinary. With only 2 owners since 1915 and no significant alterations, the bronze finish has aged naturally, preserving its original character. While signed, the craftsmanship alone confirms authenticity, from the glass quality to the construction of the framework.
If this were for sale in a retail shop, I could see it selling easily for $150,000.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
All I can do is say thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it.
Gorgeous.
More than just a dining room fixture, it's a near-perfect survivor from Tiffany's golden era. The kind of piece collectors spend decades hoping to encounter.
Purchased by my grandfather in about 1909.
Okay.
It was to be a wedding present or an anniversary present to his parents.
Oh, okay.
And then it's been passed down through the family.
Well, where did he purchase it?
He purchased it in Los Angeles.
And how much did he pay for it?
At the time, he paid $50.
$50, okay.
This table lamp, produced around 1909 by Tiffany Studios, features the beloved poinsettia pattern, one of the studio's most recognizable floral designs. Across the 18-inch leaded glass shade, vibrant red blossoms bloom against a lush ground of greens and warm yellows. The coloration is strong and balanced, with petals that glow richly when illuminated. The shade retains its proper construction details, including the characteristic tensioning rings beneath the cap, a hallmark of Tiffany craftsmanship. The interior bears the studio's signature mark, confirming authenticity. Supporting the shade is a twisting trunk-form bronze base, finished in a warm patina that complements the organic movement of the floral design above. This sculptural base is highly desirable among collectors, as its flowing lines echo the natural theme of the glass while providing visual weight and stability. Poinsettia remains a consistently strong performer in the Tiffany market. The 18-inch size strikes an ideal balance, large enough to be impressive, yet practical for display in a home setting.
I would say a safe auction estimate for this is $30,000 to $40,000.
Great, fantastic.
Which is a nice sort of gain on the $50 that your granddad paid for it.
It certainly is.
Okay.
That's great.
I ended up finding it in my father's garage. He had an office out there, and it was in a storage room after he passed away, and I was going through things.
And how long ago was that, would you say?
I found it around 1985.
Produced by Tiffany Studios, the design bursts with spring energy. Golden daffodil blossoms stretch across the curved surface, their petals layered in warm yellows and soft creams against a mottled green ground. The glass selection is everything. Subtle streaking in the leaves, gentle tonal shifts in the petals, and naturalistic variation that gives the flowers depth, even before the lamp is lit. While the interior bears the Tiffany Studios' signature, authentication rests far more on craftsmanship than a stamp. The construction technique, copper foil beneath the lead, bonded originally with beeswax, produces a faint, delicate rattle over time as the materials age. That subtle sound is often considered reassuring, a hallmark of early production. This shade was likely created for a fuel lamp before electric lighting became standard, meaning it originally would have rested on an arm-style base designed to support a heat source below. On its own, as a standalone shade, it carries significant value.
As a shade by itself, in a retail venue, this could sell for between $25,000 and $30,000.
You're kidding.
Not at all. I'm not
Oh my
kidding.
God.
Now, if you spent between $5,000 and $10,000 on the base, as a whole lamp, it could be worth between $50,000 and $75,000.
Oh my God.
Right.
That's just amazing. I just can't believe it. It's a much bigger surprise than I ever expected.
This lamp is on my father's side of the family. It was his great-great-aunt who lived in New York City and was the private secretary to J.C. Penney. And she and her husband bought a lot of beautiful things, and one of which was this lamp. Been passed down through the years, and it ended up in my dad's house and in my house. So.
This extraordinary lamp departs completely from the floral themes most often associated with Tiffany Studios. Instead, the shade depicts iridescent fish gliding through rippled glass that convincingly mimics moving water. The effect is immersive, as if you're looking into an illuminated aquarium frozen in time. The artistry lies in the glass selection. The fish themselves shimmer with metallic iridescence, standing out against a background of textured ripple glass that creates depth and motion. Subtle striations and tonal variations enhance the illusion of underwater currents. Small jeweled accents punctuate the surface, catching light like bubbles rising to the top. The bronze base is properly signed, though the socket has been replaced, a common update for functional lamps. As with most Tiffany lighting, the true value resides in the shade. Its rarity and subject matter elevate it far beyond more common patterns. Animal-themed lamps from this period are scarce, and aquatic imagery even more so. The combination of sculptural composition, technical glass mastery, and unusual design makes this example especially coveted among collectors.
Well, I think I've got some good news for you folks. A Tiffany lamp of this type, because of its rarity and because of the unusualness of the form and the style, would sell on today's market in the vicinity of $100,000. It's a wonderful lamp. You think your family would be surprised? Yes. I think they're going to be very surprised.
They'll be very happy.